Good evening and welcome to Trinity School Murder Mystery Theater. We are pleased to offer you this evening a performance of Murder on the Nile by Agatha Christie. This play is a production of the Trinity School Senior Class of 2020. It was directed by myself, Tom Ditz. Please allow me to introduce the players. Miss Foylet Fuchs, played by Kirsten Pruce. Christina Grant, played by Rachel Davis. Smith, played by Christian Bachart. Louise, played by Margaret Wang. Dr. Bessner, played by Jacob Heinzelman. Kay Moisten, played by Claire Hunsberger. Simon Moisten, played by Dan Matamore. Canon Pennefather, played by Ben Bajakis. Jacqueline de Severac, played by Lucia Scroy. McNaught, played by Jacob Heitzelman. Two Egyptian bead sellers, played by Margaret Wang and Kirsten Pruce. Act 1. The scene is the forward observation salon of the steamer Lotus on the Nile River in Shalal, Egypt. The salon is enclosed in glass to give a full view of the river panorama. The salon is arranged like a lounge with wicker chairs grouped around a table. As the curtain rises, two bead sellers are talking with the ship's steward. Mrs. Foylet Fuchs enters with Miss Christina Grant. Miss Foylet Fuchs is 60, snobbish, and bad-tempered. Christina is a nice, sensible girl with an amazingly even temper. She is carrying Miss Foylet Fuchs' coat and luggage. The steward speaks. Good evening, ladies. Good evening. Welcome to Lotus. Welcome to Lotus.
Ladies, look, I got some nice beads for you. Real amber, real lapis, very nice, very cheap.
Miss Foylet Fuchs and Miss Grant.
Oh, yes, I have very nice cabins for you. Very nice. 15 and 16. Nicest cabins on the boat.
Take us there, please. Christina, you've not dropped my coat. Don't let him have it. Carry it yourself.
I have it.
Look, lady, real lapis, very fashionable, very cheap.
No, I don't want anything.
You like old donkey riding when you come back, huh? I give you a card. I got very good donkey. My donkey, whiskey and soda, very good donkey. Huh? You like postcard. All ladies like postcard. Temple of Philae, King Tut. You English lady, huh? I love all English lady. King George, Queen Elizabeth.
Okay. Very nice, very nice. That's enough. You come this way. Come this way. Miss Foylet Fuchs and Christina follow the steward off stage. Smith, a dirty-looking young man in gray trousers and an open shirt, enters.
You like nice postcards, huh? Very hot postcards. Look, native lady dance. I take you to the native lady dancing, huh? You good sport, huh? You like duck shooting. I take you duck shooting, huh? Look, you English gentleman, no? American? Yugoslavian? Partly Francis? German? What's your nationality?
Japanese.
Japanese?
Smith exits. Louise, a good-looking French maid, enters right. The bead seller crosses to her.
Lady, I got nice beads for you. Very chic, very nice. It's the best deal around. You won't find it. No, I do not want anything.
Miss Foylet Fuchs, followed by Christina, enters. Louise exits.
It's absurd to say those are the best cabins on the boat. I don't believe it. You haven't left my little dressing case behind, Christina.
Smith enters again and sits down.
No, Aunt Helen, I have it here.
I suppose this is where the passengers sit most of the time. Reserved, I presume, for the use of first-class passengers.
All one class on this boat.
There's another lounge at the back of the boat.
Stern.
But this is where one will get the best view. Ah, a list of passengers. One likes to know who are going to be one's fellow travelers. On a boat like this, one can't get away from people. So it means one has to be very careful.
Or else one may get contaminated. Don't mind me. I've got a habit of butting in.
Now, let me see. Canon Ambrose Pennefather. That sounds quite nice. I wonder if he's one of the Yorkshire Pennefathers. Of course, one never knows in the church nowadays. Dr. Bessner, a foreign. Mr. William Smith.
Negligible.
Miss Foliage Fuchs. Oh, dear me, they've spelt it with a big F.
Oh dear, a crime against the upper class.
Miss Christina Grant. Mr. and Mrs. Simon Moyston and maid. Why, I do believe that must be Kay Ridgway.
Oh, Aunt Helen, how exciting. Do you think it's really her?
On her honeymoon, I suppose.
That must be it. The wedding was a fortnight ago. I read all about it in the Tatler at the hotel.
Well, really, that will be most interesting. They say she threw over Lord Edgbaston to marry this young Moyston. He is one of the Devonshire Moystons. Poor as a rat. Steward, come here. I don't like my cabin.
Very nice cabin, very good. Get all afternoon sun.
That is exactly what I complain of. It will be too hot for me.
No, nice breeze when boat go, very pleasant.
I want cabins on this side of the boat.
Okay, I show you.
Stay here, Christina. I don't want my things left. Now, is all the drinking water on this boat very fresh? Is it boiled?
Too bad they spelt your aunt's name with a large F.
Oh, that's happening. It's not really sensible when you come to think of it to spell a name with small f's at the start.
It's one of our incomprehensible English whimsies. Are you going to Wadi Halfa and back for the trip, or on to Khartoum?
Oh, just for the trip. It's all so picturesque, and I love the donkeys and all the beads and things. I bought this yesterday. The man said it was a real sacred scarab. Is it?
The curious thing is that you couldn't buy one of these in Birmingham if you tried.
Oh, is that where it comes from?
I've always understood they were made in Birmingham for the export market, but it may be Sheffield.
I paid 5 piastres for it.
Anyway, it's a lovely specimen. So naive, if you know what I mean.
Somebody else is coming on. I wonder if it's her.
You were expecting a friend?
Oh no. I met Mrs. Moyston. She's on honeymoon. You must have read about her. Kay Ridgway? Her father was the great financier. They say she's the richest girl in England.
That must be very bad for her.
Well, she's not only rich, she's absolutely lovely. And she's just made a romantic move. Think of being rich and lovely and having everything in the world you want.
I'd rather not think of it. It makes me feel sick.
There have been pictures of her in all the papers.
Why should there be? Why should anyone want to look at pictures of an idle, useless girl who's never done a day's work in her life? Why not pictures of decent factory girls on the way to their day's work?
Who'd want to look at pictures of them? I wouldn't.
Do you despise the workers of the world?
Not at all. I'm one myself. I work in an office in Edinburgh as a shorthand typist. But I wouldn't pay good money for a newspaper to look at pictures and typists or factory girls.
You've no proper sense of the dignity of labor.
Do you do such an awful lot of work yourself?
I'm studying conditions at the moment. I intend to work extremely hard.
Well, you understand that there's such a thing as romance. And when a girl like Kay, who might have married just anybody, marries a young man with no money at all and very good looking, and they're on their honeymoon and going to be on the... Well, it's just too thrilling for words.
I see. You've got what used to be called the novelette mind.
There's no call to be rude.
Dr. Bessner enters. He is stout and middle-aged with spectacles. He is earnestly repelling the bead sellers.
No, I do not want them. Those beads you have there, they are very bad imitation. Very bad indeed. Ah, very troublesome they are, these people. They are like the flies. All the time they are saying, backsheesh, backsheesh. Ah, Dr. Bessner.
William Smith.
Miss,
Grant.
is this the first time you make upon the Nile this so agreeable voyage?
Yes, it's the first time I've ever been in Egypt.
Ah, there is in Egypt much of interest to be seen. The civilization of Egypt was fine, very fine, and owing to action of sand and dry climates, much has been preserved to us. We will make stops and go on shore and interesting temples visit. My travel guidebook, if you like, I lend you.
There's a thrilling offer for you.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
A pleasure it will be.
Louise enters. She looks around, then goes out again, flinging a provocative glance at Smith.
Aha! A luscious female looking in my direction. I'm glad someone appreciates me.
Ugh, I've got a much better cabin now. I know that man was trying to do well for me. The one for you next door is rather small, but it will do quite well.
Present me, please.
Mr. Bessner, my aunt.
Dr. Bessner.
Anyway, I'm not at all satisfied with what that man says about the water. I don't believe they do boil it. He had a very shifty look in his eye. So I've ordered some Evian. But I sometimes suspect that they just fill those up from a tap. You'll have to boil some on the spirit lamp, Christina.
Yes, Aunt Helen.
You can unpack for me presently.
I'll go and start now.
Certainly not. It's safer to keep the cases locked until the boat starts. There are some suspicious-looking characters hanging about.
Well, just as you like.
And don't take out too much until we see whether the stewards are honest.
You have here the people of Nubia. They're not, you see, of the same race. Nubian peoples...
You might give me my Life of Madame Recamier, Christina. Now, where are my spectacles? Ah, I have them in my bag.
Kay Moiston enters, followed by Simon. Simon is a good-looking, good-tempered young man of 28. Kay is a beautiful young woman of 24, dressed in expensive yet simple clothes, and with the assured manner of one born to command.
Well, here we are.
Here we are.
What a frightful din! Get rid of these creatures, Simon.
Whoosh! Get out.
Give them some money and tell them to go away.
Mr. and Mrs. Moiston, welcome to Lotus. Welcome to Lotus. You would like to see your cabins?
Has my maid got here?
Maid, yes, she arrived half an hour ago with your luggage.
Oh, there you are, Louise.
Yes, madame, everything is ready for you, madame.
No difficulty in getting away?
Oh no, monsieur, everything was quite satisfactory. Monsieur need not be uneasy.
Good.
I did everything, monsieur, just as monsieur told me.
Then that's all right. Shall we go and look at the cabins?
Yes, we better see they're all right. Take this, Louise.
Quite like royalty.
Oh, isn't she lovely?
Pity they forgot the red carpet.
You like nice beads? I got nice beads for you. You like nice postcard, huh? All gentlemen like postcard.
Go away.
I take you donkey riding. My donkey, whiskey and soda, very good donkey.
No, you take my donkey. His donkey, very bad donkey. That donkey, fall down. My donkey, whoops-a-daisy. My donkey, good donkey. You take my card. You have good donkey, not fall down. Hip, hip,
like my
hooray.
cabin
Very
to-
good, very
Number
nice.
19,
Welcome
You
Dr.
to
take my
Bessner.
Lotus. Welcome to Lotus. You come this way. Very nice cabin. Get all afternoon sun. You come this way.
My dear Christina, do try to have a little more savoir-faire. I know you have not had many advantages in your upbringing, But the first thing to learn when you are traveling is not to rush into conversation with every single person you meet. Foreigners, in especial, are very trying. They are slower than an English person to see when they are not wanted.
Oh, those awful bead sellers are coming back again.
Ugh, they ought not to be allowed on this boat.
They've got another victim. Now what kind of fellow passenger have we got? God, a parson!
Smith exits in disgust. Canon Pennefather enters. He is a large, imposing priest of middle age.
Ugh, a very ill-bred young man.
Miss Foylet Fuchs eyes Canon Pennefather with approval and speaks to him.
Very warm, is it not?
Yes, indeed. A particularly airless afternoon.
As we are fellow travelers, I must introduce myself. I am Miss Foylet Fuchs, and this is my niece, Christina Grant.
Ah, yes, indeed. These small boats are friendly affairs. I am Canon Pennyfather.
Ooh, one of the Yorkshire Pennefathers?
No, the Shropshire branch. We shall have a most beautiful view as we go up the Nile. These observation saloons are excellent ideas.
I'd like it better if it hadn't got a roof.
You'd find the sun much too hot, my dear. Young lady, beating down on your head.
You like nice beads, amber, lapis, it's real.
Nothing at all.
Oh, I show you postcard.
No.
I show you other postcard. Very old, very holy. Oh, Church of Cairo, old
Wonderful
Coptic
how
church.
persistent they are.
Okay,
How
that's
they
enough.
swear
Canon
to their
Pennefather,
I got other postcards.
hello, welcome to Lotus. I show you your cabin. Best cabin on the boat.
It gets all the afternoon sun. Christina, I think I will go to my cabin. Bring my coat and the little handbag.
Au revoir, Miss Grant. We shall meet again later.
Oh, I hope you won't think that young man was meaning to be rude who was here when you came in. I'm afraid you must have heard him. It's just a way he has. He doesn't really mean anything by it.
Some people dislike a clergyman traveling on a ship. They say it brings bad luck. But I don't think that will apply on our paddle streamer.
Christina!
Kay enters, sighs as if she was relieved, and stands looking out the window. Simon enters, stands beside her, and puts his hand on her shoulder.
Satisfied, my sweet?
Yes. I'm going to enjoy this.
So am I, my lovely wife.
Did you ask if there were any more passengers to come on board?
Yes, I did. Everyone's arrived.
Then the boat could start. Go and arrange with the captain, or whoever it is, to start at once.
It's not due to leave for half an hour.
Nonsense. Tell them to start now.
I suppose it has to run to schedule.
Not at all. It will just be a question of tip. That's all. It always is. You don't know the world as well as I do, Simon. It's usually just a question of how much a thing costs.
I don't quite like doing that.
Darling, don't be pig-headed. I want to get off as soon as possible.
It's quite all right, Kay. Louise says so.
Louise isn't always as clever as she thinks she is.
I rather wish you'd get rid of that girl, Kay. She's got a nasty way of looking at you sometimes.
Perhaps she hates me. Though I don't see why she should. I give her heaps of things, but I couldn't possibly part with her. She's simply marvelous with hair and nails and all that.
I'd be your lady's maid, Kay.
I wonder what I'd look like with your great clumsy fingers in my hair.
Nothing could prevent you looking the loveliest thing on God's earth. Enjoying your honeymoon? Yes, thank you very, very much.
I'm going. Why, Uncle Ambrose!
Kay, my dear child, what an extraordinary surprise.
I thought you were in Palestine.
So I was, last week.
I wrote to you, to the King David Hotel at Jerusalem. Didn't you get my letter?
I changed my plans.
Then you don't know.
Know what?
That I'm married!
Married?
Yes, to Simon. Simon Moyston! Simon, this is my guardian, father's dearest friend, my Uncle Ambrose by courtesy.
I've heard a lot about you, sir.
We have never actually met, but I've seen you before.
Have you? So you never heard about our marriage?
It must have been very sudden, Kay?
Well, we didn't waste any time. I hope, darling, that you're not terribly hurt that we didn't wait for you to come back and marry us. But I didn't really know how long your Holy Land tour was going to last. And anyway, I'm over 21, so I had to ask your legal consent. And I did write you a very nice letter telling you all about Simon and everything, which it seems was just a wasted labor because you never got it.
I shall get it someday, I expect.
I thought it would sure to be catched you at the hotel in Jerusalem. But what a coincidence that you should actually be here on this boat.
Indeed, Kay. You know, I always believe there's no such thing as chance.
Anyhow, it's lovely that you're here. And now you and Simon can have a drink together and make friends. I'm going to change. See you later, darling.
What will you have, sir? I gather from what Kay said, you're not a teetotaler.
No, I am of the worldly order of clergy, who enjoy the good things of this life. Take a little wine for thy stomach's sake has always struck me as sound advice.
Stomach's sake, that's good.
I hope you don't mind my marrying Kay, sir. I mean, I hope that you'll think I'm good enough for her. Not that I could ever really be that. She's such an amazing creature.
As I said, I've seen you before, Mr. Moyston.
Make it Simon, won't you, sir? I'm afraid, you know, that I don't quite remember where...
I don't think you would remember, under the circumstances.
Did you ring, sir?
Yes. What will you have, sir?
I think perhaps a gin fizz.
Make it 2. You were saying?
I was saying that I once saw you at a small restaurant in London, the Chateau in Espagne. You were sitting at the table next to me. I could not help hearing your conversation.
Yes.
There was a very striking-looking girl with you, a dark girl. You were talking of a time to come when you would go for your honeymoon to Egypt.
Oh, I see. You feel that needs some explanation?
Frankly, yes. It was not so very long ago.
I suppose you think I married Kay for her money. Well, you're wrong. I'd have gone after Kay to the world's end if she hadn't had a penny. As a matter of fact, I'm rather glad you did see us in the Chateau in Espagne. It makes it easier for me to tell you the whole thing, and God knows I want to tell it to someone.
Yes.
The girl you saw me with was Jacqueline de Severac. I was engaged to her. She was also Kay's best friend.
I see.
Oh, don't misunderstand me. I'd never met Kay then, but I heard Jackie talk about her. They'd been at school together at some snob place in Paris. Then Jackie's people lost all their money, and she and Kay didn't see each other very often. But they wrote, and Kay was just as fond of Jackie as ever. She would have given her all sorts of things, only Jackie was too proud to take them. Well, there we were, both poor as church mice, and I was out of a job as well. Things were looking rather blue. And then Jackie heard about Kay's agent. The one who looks after Yorkshire property had died, and it seemed it would be a marvelous chance for me. I'm good at that sort of thing. I'm country bred. So she rushed off to Kay, and Kay, like the sport she is, said of course she'd give Jackie's fiancé the job. So I took it. Cheerio.
And then?
That's what I've got to make you understand, sir. The moment I saw Kay, it was all over. Jackie didn't exist anymore. I'm every sort of swine you like to call me, but that's how it was. I had loved Jackie in a kind of way, but when Kay came, it was like the moon when the sun comes out. You just don't see the moon anymore.
Not a bad simile.
That's how it was. Kay was the sun. I tried to fight against it, but it was no good. And when I found she felt the same...
And Miss de Severac?
Jackie took it hard, very hard indeed. Of course, I knew I treated her very badly.
You and Kay.
Kay had nothing to do with it. It wasn't her fault. I was just feeling, well, restless. And then I met Kay, and she just swept me off my feet. I'd never seen anyone so lovely. It was all so amazing. Everyone kowtowing to her, and then her singling out a poor fish like me?
I see.
Kay and I felt it was no good hanging about. The sooner we got married, the better. We felt Jackie would get over quicker that way.
A very convenient belief. And? Did she?
She made certain threats, of course.
Threats?
She's half French, you know, Latin blood. She talked a lot of melodramatic nonsense about shooting us both. I shouldn't really have been surprised at her taking a pot shot at me, but I'd never really believed she'd react in this way.
In what way?
I'm telling this awfully badly. Kay and I started off on our honeymoon, went to Venice. The first thing when we got to Daniele's was Jackie sitting in the lounge. For a minute or two, I was afraid of trouble, but she was quite polite. Just expressed surprise at seeing us, said what a coincidence it was. Naturally, I thought it was a coincidence. Just a bit of bad luck. Anyway, Kay and I thought we'd push on, so we caught an earlier boat from Trieste. Dashed if when we got on board, Jackie wasn't there. Seems she was going to Egypt too. It was damned awkward. You know, sir, it really was.
Yes, I can't imagine that.
Well, to come to the point, when we landed in Egypt, we went to the Mena house near Cairo. Jackie had said she was going up to Luxor, but when we came down to dinner the first night, Jackie was there.
Very unusual. Yes, and ingenious.
I must admit, I absolutely saw red. Afterwards, I went up and tackled her, accused her of following us round. She was as cool as a cucumber, just smiled sweetly and said it was odd that we always seemed to choose the same places. I had told her it got to stop.
And what had she to say to that?
She said, "But surely there's no law against my stopping in the same hotel as you and Kay." And of course, she had me there. Kay kept saying that we must take steps of some kind. I don't really know that there are any steps one can take.
You told me just now that both you and Jacqueline were as poor as church mice. How then does she manage to meet the expenses of travel? They must be heavy.
That's clever of you. Do you know, I never thought of that. Jackie's poor as they make them, so the time's bound to come when she'll run out. She's only got about 200 a year.
Then, presumably, she will soon come to the end of her resources and be penniless. You don't like to think of that?
Well, I can't help it. It's not my fault. If she will start on this crack-brained scheme, can't she see what an ass she's making of herself? Hasn't she got any pride? Any dignity?
Pride and dignity are qualities we are always apt to urge on other people.
What does she expect to get out of following me round and making a public nuisance of herself?
It has already caused you and Kay a good deal of annoyance and vexation, has it not?
It's got Kay absolutely on edge. That's why
Yes.
she followed us to Luxor. When we got to Aswan, she was there again. Kay just couldn't stand anymore. So we hitched up a scheme. Gave out that we were going down to Cairo by steamer tomorrow. Then today we started off on a day's expedition to Philae. In the meantime, Louise, Kay's maid, sneaked quietly out of the hotel with the luggage and drove to the boat to wait for us. It won't be until this evening after dinner that Jackie will discover we've gone. And by then, this boat will have started. We've bribed the porter to tell Jackie that we've gone back by train to Cairo.
Very elaborate.
So, you see, there won't be a thing she can do about it. Even if she finds out where we've really gone, she can only come after us by the next boat. Kay's idea is to fly from Khartoum down to East Africa, or even to the Cape.
You like this scheme?
No, I don't. After all, it's neither more nor less than running away, and that sticks in my gizzard. I'm all for standing firm and seeing it out. I don't like the idea of running away from a girl. I feel a coward. But Kay... Kay's nerves are all shot to pieces. She feels she must get away. I'm glad I've told you all this, sir. Glad we came across you. I don't suppose you think very much of me. I know I'm not nearly good enough for Kay, but I do love her, and I'll do every mortal thing she wants.
Now, you mustn't do that sort of thing, young man. Kay has always had her own way far too much. You must stand up to her.
Well, here I am. Got a drink for me? Have you persuaded Uncle Ambrose that you're the right husband for me?
He says I ought to beat you.
How discerning of you! Oh dear, what fun this is going to be.
The sunsets here are wonderful.
There's hardly anybody on board. Late in the season, of course. But we shall practically have the boat to ourselves. We can do just what we like.
Ha! That will be no novelty to you, Kay.
What will you drink?
Sherry.
A sherry and 2 gin fizzes.
Oh, I don't think I should really...
Oh, yes, do, sir.
Well, perhaps this once.
Sherry and 2 gin fizzes.
By the way, Kay, I'd like 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds?
Conscience money.
Don't look so surprised, Simon. Uncle Ambrose always does this sort of thing. He's a kind of moral gangster.
I don't understand.
Kay has far more money than is good for her. A great many people have far too little for their good. I endeavor to readjust the balance. I happen to have brought along a blank check form. I never ask for alms. I demand them. I find it far more successful. Here's a pen. Your rich man or woman signs a check and then goes out to lunch at the Berkeley with an inner glow that assists digestion. Don't forget to write in the branch of the bank. They have the comfortable feeling that they have reserved a front stall in heaven.
You really are the most cynical clergyman I know. You don't even say thank you.
Why should I? I'm merely assisting you to make a good investment.
1 or 2 minutes we leave. Scenery very nice.
Here's to our trip.
Come on, Kay. Sign, please.
1,000 pounds is a lot of money.
It won't do very much, but it will do something.
Uncle Ambrose has some wonderful scheme for rebuilding in New England. Self-supporting communities and industries. A kind of Christianized socialism, it seems to me.
You understand nothing about it, my dear, because you are not interested. But you have your place in the scheme, the lowest place, supplying funds.
Here's my check. I don't see how you ever get any money at all when you are so rude.
That, my child, shows that you have a very poor idea of psychology. 500 pounds?
50% of what you've asked is pretty good going.
Ah, well, all's grist to the mill. To Jerusalem.
Jerusalem?
Yes, from William Blake. For I will build Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land.
Oh, dear.
Don't look so surprised, darling. It's only Uncle Ambrose on his hobby horse again.
Jacqueline de Severac enters. She is cool, composed, and looks quietly amused with life, yet betrays a consciousness that her entrance is dramatic.
Hello, Kay. How surprising! I thought you and Simon were going downriver to Cairo. I never expected to find you here.
You didn't...
Now look here, Jackie. You can't
Yes,
just...
Simon? How hot you look. It is hot here, isn't it?
Yes, it's the glass there. It makes it very hot, I think.
So you're still playing this game, are you?
I don't know what you mean. I thought the trip up to the Second Cataract sounded so interesting.
Oh, cut it out, Jackie.
But surely, Simon, you and Kay were going to Cairo tomorrow? Everyone in the hotel was saying so.
Sometimes one alters one's plans.
Yes, I altered mine.
You can't go on doing this sort of thing, you know? It's so utterly unreasonable.
What are you talking about, Simon? This seems a nice boat. I shall enjoy my trip up to Wadi Halfa, especially now that I found friends on board. I must see where my cabin is.
Mr. Severac, welcome to Lotus. This way, please.
There's still time, Simon. We could get off.
And if we did, she'd only follow us. I wish I could make you see that running away only plays into her hands. We've got to go through with it. Beat her at her own game. Otherwise, she sees she's got us rattled, and that spurs her on.
Yes. Yes, that's true. Just go away, darling. Go to the cabin, or to the deck lounge, or to the other end of the boat. I want to talk to Uncle Ambrose.
He knows all about it, I've told him.
Good, then that will save time. Go on, darling. You'll cramp my style.
In what way?
Simon's told you all about this. This incredible persecution. Jackie is making herself utterly ridiculous. But all the same, it's got to be stopped. You've got to stop it.
Indeed? How do you suggest I should go about it?
Talk to her. Show her what a fool she is making of herself. Threaten her. Tell her that we shall take proceedings.
She's a perfect right to travel on this boat, Kay.
Well, appeal to her. Appeal to her pride and her self-respect. Show her how undignified it is to go running after a man who doesn't want her.
Have you any reason to believe she would listen to me?
People do listen to you. You've got something about them that makes them listen.
I am to appeal, am I, to her better nature?
Yes. Get her to give up this silly persecution.
Why do you mind so much, Kay?
Wouldn't anybody? It's maddening. I simply can't stand it.
But you will have to stand it, won't you?
What do you mean?
That there isn't any way out. You can bear this thing well, or you can bear it badly. But you can't refuse to bear a thing that exists and that you cannot alter.
When we get to Wadi Halfa, I'll charter an aeroplane. We'll fly right into the wilds.
Fugitives? Come and sit down, Kay. What are you running away from?
But you know!
Oh yes, I know. I'm waiting for you to face facts.
I haven't the least idea of what you mean.
Haven't you? I'll ask my question again. Why do you mind so much?
Because it's intolerable!
Quite. And yet, there are other ways of looking at it. You might simply feel annoyed, or you might feel pity that a friend whom you loved should have been so deeply hurt as to cast all conventions aside. But instead, this business has gotten right under your skin. It's yourself you're running away from, Kay. You've had a happy life. You've been generous and kindly, and you've always had good reason to think well of yourself. Naturally, you don't like to feel guilty.
What do you mean by guilty?
And the Lord sent Nathan unto David. He came unto him and said unto him, There were 2 men in one city, the one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds, but the poor man had nothing, save 1 little ewe lamb. And the rich man took the poor man's ewe lamb.
It wasn't like that at all!
And David said to Nathan, As the Lord liveth, the man that has done this is worthy to die, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David, Thou art the man.
It wasn't like that, I tell you! Simon and Jackie weren't the least bit suited to each other. He realized that as soon as he met me. What on earth do you think he ought to have done? Gone on with it? Made 3 lives miserable? He couldn't have made Jackie happy if he wasn't happy himself.
That is always assumed. A convenient assumption.
Surely it's better to rectify a mistake before it's too late. The only common sense thing to do was for Simon to tell Jackie the truth. You'd think if she was so fond of him, she'd want to put his happiness first.
How very young you are, Kay.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. You were very fond of Jackie always, weren't you?
Yes. She was my greatest friend at school. I was devoted to her always.
And she to you,
Yes.
and she came to you and asked you to help her, to give the man she loved a job so that they could marry.
Yes.
You've always had everything you wanted, haven't you, Kay? There's never been any reason why you shouldn't have it. But there was a reason this time.
What are you trying to say? You're blaming me for everything?
I'm saying that there was a moment, right at the beginning, when you could have stopped. You saw Simon Moyston and he attracted you. He was dazzled by you. But you could have held your hand, Kay. You could have said to yourself, he's Jackie's man, and I'm Jackie's friend. You'd got everything. Your friend's life was bound up in one person. But Kay had to have what she wanted. Like King David, you stretched out your hand and took the poor man's one ewe lamb.
You're dreadfully unfair.
Simon Moyston is a weak man. One can see that. I think the initiative came from you.
Well, what does it all matter now? One can't go back. The past is the past.
Exactly. The past conditions the future.
Well then, what am I going to do about all this?
My dear child, I don't see that there is anything you can do.
You mean I'll have to put up with it?
It seems so.
And you won't help me?
I'm not very sure that I want to help you, Kay. It is someone else I should like to be able to help.
Oh, I don't understand your attitude.
Just one question, Kay, as a matter of curiosity. Why, since you were running away, did you not hire a private boat? Jacqueline could not have followed you onto that.
Of course I thought of that. I'm not a perfect idiot. But it's Simon. You've no idea the trouble I've had. He makes the most extraordinarily heavy weather just because I'm the one who has the money. As though it mattered which of us has it.
Oh, but it does matter, Kay, from a man's point of view.
Well, anyway, Simon has been very difficult. He hates the idea of what he calls living on me. The only thing that would appease him at all was that, at any rate, the honeymoon should be what he calls his show. So I gave in, and he hasn't let me spend a penny. He'd got shares or something that he sold out, and the poor sweet has been so happy about it that I haven't had the heart to protest. But a private boat would be quite out of the question for him to pay for, and I simply didn't dare suggest that I should.
I must say, I think a good deal better of your Simon for taking that stand.
Well, I think it's very stupid. As if money mattered.
Naturally, it doesn't to you. You've always had plenty of it.
Why are you so against me? I think you're most unkind.
Bit of a change from the King David Hotel, eh?
Possibly.
I expect you did yourself pretty well there amongst the flesh pots.
I
noticed you there. Perhaps it was your double, sitting by one of those pillar things, opening a great wad of mail.
You seem to be a very observant young man.
I usually recognize a face, and a figure.
Oh, touché.
Perhaps you don't understand what I'm getting at.
Oh, perfectly. You make your meaning quite plain.
You parsons are all the same. I've no use for you.
You young men are all the same, but we have got a use for you.
Well, I must admit you've got a nerve. Phew, it's too hot in here.
We shall be starting in a minute or two. Ahead of us is what the old Egyptians called the hidden horizon.
Hidden horizon.
There is something I would like to say to you, Miss de Severac.
I'm sure there is. Let's get on with it. I know who you are, of course. Kay has often talked of you. You're supposed to have the gift of eloquence. Go on, I'm waiting. Will I be a good girl and leave dear persecuted Kay alone? That's it, isn't it?
I would put it differently.
I'm sure you would. It wouldn't be as crude as that.
Do you think you know what I'm going to say?
I'm sure of it.
I wonder. Well, what I've got to say to you is this. Bury your dead.
What?
Bury your dead. Give up the past. Turn to the future. What is done cannot be undone, and bitterness will certainly not undo it. You are young. Time will heal you.
You're quite wrong. I'm not suffering. I'm enjoying myself. Did you see their faces when I walked in this evening? Oh yes, I'm enjoying myself.
That is the worst part of it.
You're rather harsh, aren't you, about my little amusements? But then, of course, they upset dear Kay, so I must give them up.
I'm not thinking about Kay. What you are doing won't do Kay any harm. She will just have to put up with it. The harm you are doing will be to yourself.
To my soul.
You're afraid of the word? I'm not. You've still got a few minutes. Get off this boat. Make a new life for yourself.
You don't understand. Simon is my life. We loved each other.
I know how much you cared for him.
We loved each other. I tell you, and I trusted Kay. She was my best friend. I'd never even been jealous of all she had, and I hadn't. All her life, Kay has been able to buy everything she wanted. She's never denied herself anything. And when she saw Simon, she just wanted him. And she just took him.
And he allowed himself to be bought?
No, that's not true. He didn't marry Kay for her money. But there's such a thing as the glamour money gives. Kay has an atmosphere. Do you wonder it all went to his head? Look out there. Soon the moon will be up, quite plain to see. But when the sun shines, you can't see the moon. I was the moon. When the sun came up, Simon couldn't see me anymore. He was dazzled. He could only see the sun. Kay.
So that is how you see it?
Glamour! She went to his head. And there's her complete assurance, too. Her habit of command. She's so sure of herself that she makes other people sure. Simon was weak, perhaps, but he's a very simple person. He would have loved me and only me if Kay hadn't come along.
That is what you like to think.
It's true. He did love me. He always will love me.
Does he love you now?
One up to you on that. You don't hit softly, do you?
I'm afraid for you.
Afraid?
Yes. What you are doing is dangerous.
Not as dangerous as I once thought of doing. Do you know what I felt when it first happened?
Jackie takes a small pistol out of her bag and shows it to him. He takes the pistol and reads the initials.
The initials are JS.
Nice little thing. Looks like a toy. But a bullet from it would kill a man or woman. And I'm a good shot. I meant to kill one or the other of them. Not both. That wouldn't have been satisfactory if I'd thought Kay would have looked afraid. But she wouldn't. She's got plenty of physical courage. And then I thought I'd wait. After all, I could do it any time. It would be more fun to wait and to think about it. And then this idea came to my mind, to follow them. Whenever they arrived at some faraway spot and were together and happy, they should see me. And it worked. It got Kay badly, in a way nothing else could have done. And that was when I began to enjoy myself. And there's nothing she can do about it. I'm always perfectly pleasant and polite. And it's poisoning everything. Everything for them.
Be quiet. Quiet, I tell you.
Why should I?
Because that is how the devils in hell laugh.
I'm in hell, all right.
Listen, Jacqueline. Don't open up your heart to evil. Because if you do, evil will come.
Isn't evil rather a strong word?
It is the only word.
You can't stop me.
No, I cannot stop you.
Even if I were to kill her, you couldn't stop me.
No.
Is it so wrong to kill the person who has taken away everything you had in the world? Is it? Is it?
Yes.
You ought to approve of my present scheme of revenge, because, as long as it works, I shan't use that pistol. But I'm afraid sometimes.
What are you afraid of?
Sometimes, everything goes red. I want to hurt her. I want to stick a knife into her. I want to put my dear little pistol close against her head and just pull the trigger. So...
We are casting off. For the last time, I beg of you, not because of Kay's peace of mind, but for your own lasting peace and your future happiness. Get off this boat. Give up this journey.
I almost wish I could.
But you can. There's always a moment when one can turn back before it is too late. This is your moment.
We start now. Bismillah Rahman Rahim.
What was that he said?
What most Muslims say before starting out on a journey. In the name of Allah, the compassionate, the merciful. Can you say that on the start of your journey?
I wish you hadn't been on board.
I can't stand any more of it.
No, Kay, we've got to go through with it.
Yes, we've got to go through with it.
End of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 1. 3 days later by the temple of Abu Simbel. It is evening after dinner. It is bright moonlight outside. Canon Pennefather, Miss Foylet Fuchs, Simon, and Kay are at the center table playing bridge.
And the rest are mine. Game and rubber.
Do you mean to say we had all the hearts between us? Why didn't you lead them?
I only had ace, queen, and another.
I had 5 to the king, and not another card in my hand. Uncle Ambrose, you wicked old man! As soon as you got in with the ace of diamonds, you actually led the knave of hearts. How many had you?
Knave Singleton, I had to frighten you off the heart suit. I should have been heavily down if you'd led one.
Poker ought to be your game, sir.
He's got a regular poker face.
Oh, dear Canon Pennefather, I think we can congratulate ourselves on our tactics. I think that makes us 900 points.
Oh, 700, I think.
In spite of your poker face, most honorable over the score, I'm awfully slack. I never add up. I always trust my opponents.
You're dreadfully lazy, Simon. I usually keep the score. I am so sleepy tonight. Oh dear, I must go to bed. Simon, pay for me?
It's the sightseeing that has tired you.
Abu Simbel is wonderful, though. I wouldn't have missed it for anything. I feel we really ought to have gone again this evening with the others and seen it by artificial light. The travel guide said one could see far more details of the wall paintings.
Sometimes, my dear Mrs. Moyston, the details are not, well, quite nice. And I find that the local guides are often so insistent on certain aspects of the Egyptian mythology and customs.
Indeed. I've always found local guides the soul of delicacy. Quite disappointingly so.
Oh, that, dear Canon, shows the purity of your own mind. Now, where's my velvet scarf? Christina! Where is Christina? Oh, of course. She has gone ashore. Most inconsiderate. How did she know what I might want or not want during the evening? Always thinking of pleasure, these young people. Oh, thank you, dear Canon. Pray, do not trouble. I had it before dinner, I know. I was sitting here. I can't think. Oh, thank you, Mr. Moyston. Don't trouble. Velvet. Purple velvet. Oh, dear, dear, where can my scarf be? Most annoying of Christina not to have looked after it properly. Don't you find, dear Canon, that young people nowadays have absolutely no consideration for their elders?
Sometimes. And sometimes their elders have very little consideration for them. I think I hear the party returning.
Christina should have stayed quietly on board with me, especially since that dreadful socialistic young man is on the boat. So terribly common and so pushing.
And what was the temple like by moonlight?
It was marvelous, quite different. The scenes on the walls of great interest are the march of Egyptian army under Ramses to Kadesh on North Wall, also leading by the king before Harkite of many prisoners, while temple, of course, is dedicated to Ra Harkite and Amen Ra, god for Thebes.
Thank you, Herr Doctor.
Oh, well, you have been enjoying yourself, Christina. I have been put to serious inconvenience. Where is my purple scarf?
You had it before dinner, Aunt Helen. In here.
Well, it isn't here now.
Well, maybe it's in your cabin.
Oh, I am not aware that scarves have legs, foolish girl. I brought it in here.
The steward may have taken it there while you were at dinner. I'll go and see.
Don't rush off like that. Take my knitting and my glasses and my little shawl. There's no reason why I should have to carry everything myself.
That's what I always say. If you own a slave, keep it on the run.
Perhaps you wouldn't mind getting up off my knitting.
Oh, excuse me.
Ugh, social embarrassment makes people so clumsy. Ugh.
Bullying old hag.
I must go to bed.
One moment, Kay. You said you would sign those transfers this evening. I've got them here.
Oh, darling, can't they wait until tomorrow morning?
This morning you said they could wait until tonight. It won't take a minute, and I must get them sent off from Wadi Halfa.
You're not going to read through the whole thing, are you?
I always read everything before signing it. Father taught me to. He said one never knew if some clerical error mightn't have crept in.
Clerical error. That's good.
Kay is an excellent woman of business.
Well, I've never read through a legal document in my life. Wouldn't understand it if I did. I just sign on the dotted line as I'm told.
Indeed.
Well, you can't go through the world thinking everyone is going to cheat you. I've always found it pays to trust people.
Father never trusted anybody. Uncle Ambrose was the only man he believed in. That's why he appointed him my guardian and trustee of my capital until I was 25 or married. Father said lawyers knew too much about how to evade the law.
Melwish Ridgway was a very shrewd and able man. He was a great master of finance. But he had little belief in his fellow men.
Perhaps rightly.
On the other hand, he little knew the subterfuges to which some of the clergy will descend to get money for their pet causes.
I suppose I've actually come into my capital now, Uncle Ambrose. I could make a will and leave it all to your better and brighter England scheme.
Ha! You could, but I'm quite sure you will not be induced to invest your money in that excellent fashion.
Why not?
Because the dividends, my dear, are not payable in this world.
I wonder what it would feel like to be really poor.
Don't worry. You'll never know.
Are you all so sure of that? The patience of the workers won't last forever.
Oh, don't let's be political.
Yes, I think, my dear, these had better wait until the morning.
I simply can't take in anything. Good night, Uncle Ambrose. It's been a lovely day. You were right about facing things. I've got over my silly attack of nerves. Good night, Jackie. It's really rather heavenly on this boat, isn't it?
Good night, Jacqueline.
She doesn't care anymore. Neither of them cares. I can't reach them. They've got beyond me. They don't mind if I'm here or not. I can't hurt them anymore.
Do you still want to hurt them?
They shan't be happy together. They shan't. They shan't. I'll stop it somehow.
You should not have come on this boat.
You're right. Yes, I think you're right. But it's too late now. I can't go back. I've got to go on. To go on.
You're very tired. It has been a long, hot day. Go to bed and sleep.
I couldn't sleep.
Oh, yes, you could.
No, it's too hot. Too still. It's the kind of evening when things snap. Bring me a double brandy.
You will excuse me, please, but is your wife then the daughter of Melfish Ridgway?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Is there any reason why you should know it?
You will excuse me. You see, that man.
Am I right in thinking that one of Melhuish Ridgway's financial operations has at some time affected you personally?
You will excuse me, gentlemen, but I have very strong feelings. In my country in Europe, a small country, an obscure country, that man, he buys the politicians, he corrupts the government. Those who get the concession, you understand, it is not that they want to develop it. On the contrary, the people, the peasants, they starve. The ore, you see, it would be a rival, and that must not be. Instead, all is desolate, deserted. And we who believed in it, we lose all we had. We are finished, wiped out. My father, an old man and feeble, he dies with the heart broken. But it is not the progress, the industries that not developed is ah, you understand?
Frankly, old boy, no. But I get the general idea. International finance, like some obscene spider, up to its usual tricks. And old man Ridgway sitting in his office in London, with a big cigar, right in the center of the web. No offense, Moiston, but Melhuish Ridgway's financial operations are pretty common knowledge, and his handsome donations can't quite wipe out the taste of them.
Oh, that's all right by me. I've never even seen my father-in-law. He was dead years before I met Kay. I suppose these financial birds usually sail fairly near the wind. Don't know anything about finance myself. Often wish I did.
The little man in the back street, he would be sent to prison. But the big man with the cigar, he can rob and cheat and stay inside the law.
It won't be so forever.
They too should suffer. Yes, suffer. Forgive me, I am upset.
And what have you been saying to upset poor Dr. Bessner?
Me? Nothing at all. And why should you defend him?
Because he's a foreigner, and foreigners are very sensitive. Their feelings are easily hurt.
And what about my feelings? Your aunt taunted me this evening with my inferior social position.
You must forgive Aunt Helen. It's been a tiring day for her, and the dust and sand affect her eyes.
To quote Thomas Nash, dust hath fallen from the sky, dust hath closed Ellen's eye. I wish it would finally happen.
Boy, get me another brandy.
And get me a pink gin. Christina.
Oh, I wouldn't mind a lemonade.
Too tame. Make it a gin fizz. What about you, Moiston?
No, thanks.
He was a man. Oh, and he done her wrong.
It's a really lovely night. Beautiful moonlight.
Yes, a real honeymoon night.
The travel guide was telling me that one of the Egyptian goddesses, the one that's said to hold up the sky, was called Mut. Seems an odd name for a goddess.
Why? She was a mutt to hold up the sky. Let it crash.
I must be going to bed. It's getting late.
Nonsense! The night is young. I want you to tell me about yourself.
There's not much to tell.
Well, here's to crime. You can bring me another.
Talking of crime, I feel something should be done about your aunt. A nice little dose of arsenic, for instance.
You're very rude about my aunt.
You can't tell me you like the woman.
She's been good to me, bringing me abroad and everything.
Including treating you as a slave. Haven't you got any spirit? Don't you know you're just as good as she is?
Oh, but I'm not.
All that you mean is that she's rich and you're poor.
Not at all. Aunt Helen's highly educated and very cultured.
Pah, culture, education, they mean nothing at all.
You know, I believe it's your digestion that's wrong. Aunt Helen was once ordered a special kind of pepsin. Would you like me to get you some of it for you to try? It might make you much better tempered and better mannered.
What's wrong with my manners?
They're just atrocious.
In that case, I will wish you all good night.
Good night. I'm going to bed myself.
You can't go to bed. I won't let you go to bed. I want someone to talk to. Sit here. and tell me about yourself.
No, thank you. Really. I think I'll go to bed. I'm very tired.
I forbid you to go to bed. Tell me about your life. Tell me all about your life.
There's not much to tell. I've lived in all my life. I've got one sister and two brothers. I work in an insurance office. I'd always wanted to travel. When Aunt Helen asked me on this trip, I could hardly believe it at first. It was like a dream coming true. I'm just loving every minute of it.
You're a happy sort of person, aren't you? God, I'd like to be you.
Oh, but I'm sure, I mean...
What do you mean? Shall I tell you the story of my life? Going to run away, Simon?
It's getting late.
Just the right time of night for telling hard luck stories. Or good luck stories, like Christina's. Why hasn't your Aunt Helen ever taken you abroad before? Why does she just let you slave away in an office?
That's a family affair. Aunt Helen's sister, you see, married Helen considered beneath her. That was my grandmother. Aunt Helen's actually my great-aunt. My father, who's a proud man, kept up the quarrel until recently when he was traveling.
Quite romantic, isn't it, Simon? I like you, Christina. I like you very much. Don't go away and leave me, will you? I'm feeling very low tonight. I want someone to talk to. You won't leave me, will you?
I'm thinking we all need some sleep.
Boy. Get the steward, will you, Simon? I want another drink.
The stewards have gone to bed. It's after midnight.
I tell you, I want another drink.
You've had quite enough drinks, Jackie.
And what damned business is it of yours?
None.
What's the matter, Simon? Are you afraid?
I really must.
No, you mustn't. Do you know what Simon over there is afraid of? He's afraid I'm going to tell you the story of my life.
Oh, indeed?
It's a very sad story. He and I were engaged, you see. He was her man, and he did her wrong. He treated me rather badly, didn't you, Simon?
Go to bed, Jackie. You're drunk.
If you're embarrassed, you'd better leave the room.
I'm staying.
It's so late.
I forbid you to go. You're to stay and hear what I've got to say.
Jackie, you're making a fool of yourself. For God's sake, go to bed.
You're afraid of a scene, aren't you? That's because you're so English, so reticent. You want me to behave decently, don't you? Decently. Like a prep school boy. That's all you are. A great, overgrown schoolboy. You'd better get out of here quickly because I'm gonna talk a lot. You damned fool. Do you think you can treat me as you have done and get away with it? Answer me. Damn you, answer me. I told you I'd kill you sooner than let you go to another woman. You don't think I meant that? You're wrong. I've only been waiting, just waiting. You're my man, do you hear? You belong to me.
She slips a pistol out of her handbag.
I told you I'd kill you, and I meant it. Answer me. Damn you, answer me.
Stop making a damned fool of yourself and go to bed.
I'm making a fool of myself, am I?
Jackie points the pistol at Simon.
Yes.
I'll kill you. I'll kill you. I'll shoot you like a dog. Like the dirty dog you are.
Simon falls into his chair, clutching his knee. He puts a handkerchief to his knee and a red stain appears. Jackie drops the pistol.
Simon! Simon, I didn't mean...
Hello? What's
What
up?
happened?
Nothing. Just a bit of fun. Joke. Very funny, you understand? Go away. Oh, don't come back, understand? Not come back.
What did happen?
I shot him. Oh, God, I shot him.
Hush, dear, hush.
Get her away. For God's sake, get her out of here. We've got to keep this quiet. You understand? Get her outside. Then go and knock up Bessner. Make you give her some dope or something and quiet her down. Then bring him along here.
Right.
Simon, I'll kill myself.
Don't leave her.
You all right, Moiston?
Help him, get him a doctor.
Yes, I'm all right. Just bleeding a bit. And I can't move my leg.
Come, dear.
Simon!
Quiet, Jackie. Quiet.
End of Act 1, Scene 1. Scene 2. The same scene 5 minutes later. Simon is still in his chair. The pistol is no longer on the floor. Louise is in the doorway watching. Dr. Bessner and Smith enter.
Where is he then? Ah!
Mon Dieu! What is it? What has happened?
Ah, damn this knee!
I heard a shot. I ran here as fast as I can. Oh, mon Dieu! The
Now
blood.
keep calm. There's just been a little accident.
An accident? To Monsieur!
I don't want to fuss, Louise. Understand? Ah!
Ah, nasty. Very nasty.
Shall I fetch Madame?
No!
Now look here, my dear girl. There's absolutely no cause to get upset, see? You've got to be sensible. I'm sure you're a very sensible girl.
Oh, Monsieur, I was so afraid. I thought perhaps it was the rising of the Abrahams. They come to murder us all. My heart, it was in my mouth.
There. It's all quite simple. We were just, playing about with a pistol, not realizing it was loaded. Stupid of us, but there it is.
Oh, but they are so dangerous, pistols.
They certainly are.
Yes, it is a nasty wound. The bone is injured, and there has been a loss of blood. It should be best, I think, if Mr. Mostyn moved to my cabin. There's a second berth there, and I can look after him. The wound must be properly dressed. You will have to get for me boiling water, so that I can sterilize my instruments.
Dr. Bessner finds the bullet in the chair.
Fortunately, we shall not have to extract the bullet.
Sounds most alarming. Like a major operation.
Not so. Much cannot be done here. I have not the means. I can but patch, you understand? It is to hospital you must go. But have no fear. For 2-3 weeks you lie still, and after that you walk as well as ever.
Nice way of spending your honeymoon. Thank goodness Kay hasn't woken up. She needn't know anything about it till the morning.
I did not hear the shot myself. Or rather, there are so many shots on the shore, and the jackals and the drums. But it is noisy here in the desert.
Shall I fetch Monsieur his things from his cabin?
Yes, do. Pajama and my washing things. Be careful not to wake up Madame next door.
I understand. I will be very quiet, Monsieur.
How's Jackie?
I have given her a sedative injection, a strong one. Already she has calmed down. In half an hour she will sleep.
Good. She didn't really know what she was doing. Poor kid. She was sozzled.
We can fix up some story or other. Pity that the French girl heard the row. However, I dare say we can manage to shut her mouth. But you can already see that she smells a rat.
Get hold of that pistol before I forget it, will you?
It's over there somewhere. Just about where you are. I can't see any signs of it.
It must be there. Perhaps it rolled under something.
There's no pistol here.
But there must be. I saw her drop it. I heard it fall.
Well, it's not here now. Perhaps Christina picked it up.
I don't think she did. I'm almost sure she didn't. She was hanging on to Jackie.
Well, somebody must have picked it up. Perhaps Jackie herself did.
No, she didn't.
Now, Mr. Mostyn, we get you to my cabin. Mr. Smith, you go that side, your arm under so. Right, now lift. Your arm over our shoulders, Mr. Mostyn. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my God, Madame! Madame!
Be quiet. Don't make that noise.
But Madame, she has been shot. She is dead down in her bed.
What's that?
She has been shot through the head.
No.
are mad. You cannot possibly walk. Do you not understand?
But Kay. Kay.
Tell us. Tell us.
I went into Monsieur's cabin to get his pajamas. The door into Madame's cabin was ajar, so I moved very quietly not to wake her. Then I smell something. It is the same smell as in here. The smell that is when a gun is fired. Oh, je ne peux.
Yes. And then what?
And it comes from Madame's cabin. So I go in. I go across to her bed. She lies there on her side. I think it is all right. But there is no breathing, you understand. So I switch on the light and I see Madame has been shot through the head. There is a little round hole here.
What happened? Who screamed?
Jackie has killed Kay.
We must go and see. You will come?
At once.
Kay.
Ignat, the ship's manager, enters.
What's this? Someone's been shot?
Mrs. Mostyn.
Dead?
The doctor has gone to see.
Aye, this is very bad business. A thing like this has never happened before. I'm at a loss to know the correct procedure.
Are you in charge?
But as I say, a thing like this has never occurred before. Mrs. Mostyn's a very important person, which don't make it easier. Is it known who shot the lady?
I'm afraid so.
I see. I was about to observe that no one from on shore could have come on board. There's a guard always stationed at the bank.
Do you expect trouble then?
Oh, nothing, but possibly some petty pilfering, that's all. But it means that nobody could have come on board unobserved.
Well?
She was shot through the right temple.
Not very long ago. Perhaps 5 minutes, perhaps 20 minutes, not more. The pistol was held close against her head. That is clearly seen by the scorching of the skin.
I want to put my dear little pistol close against her head and then just press the trigger. So.
Who said that?
I think you can guess. Jacqueline de Severac said it to me on the night we left Chalal.
Kay wanted to get off the boat. If only I'd agreed. If I'd done what she wanted. Instead, I persuaded her to face it out.
Don't punish yourself by going over the past. You couldn't have known what was going to happen.
I knew Jackie.
You're quite sure that it was Jackie who shot her?
Of course. Who else could it be? You don't mean it couldn't be suicide? Kay would never.
It was not suicide. Kay was shot with a small caliber pistol, and the pistol has been taken away.
It was, I should say, the same pistol that fired this.
He shows the bullet.
This is the bullet that threw Mr. Mostyn's leg past and lodged in the floor.
You were right. My eyes weren't working. Jackie must have picked up that pistol. Or else I'm dreaming and she never dropped it.
You are very sure it was Jacqueline?
You said that before, sir. Is there a doubt?
I would only remind you that you are condemning someone unheard. Jacqueline has not had a chance of refuting the accusation against her. Where is she?
Mr. Smith came to me. He told me that the girl was in hysterics. So I went with him to her cabin, and I found her there with Miss Grant, trying to calm her. I gave her a strong injection.
It would make her sleep?
Yes, but not at once. There would be an interval of, say, half an hour. She would become calm and then get drowsy.
And I suppose as soon as she was left alone, she ran round the stern of the boat and shot Kay. She's not really responsible, you know. She's been drinking all the evening. The poor kid was half crazy. It's my fault. The whole bloody business. I'm the one to blame.
Has anything happened?
Has anything happened? Has anything happened? That's funny. That's damned funny.
Quiet, Mr. Mostyn, quiet.
Thanks, Bester. Sorry.
All this for you is very bad. I will give you now an injection.
I won't have it. Do you think I want to sleep?
What is it?
Mrs. Moyston has been murdered, shot through the head.
Shot? In her cabin? But that is quite close to mine. I might have been murdered.
Somebody made a mistake.
Oh, I call it disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. Proper safeguards should be taken. Natives should not be allowed to creep aboard in the night.
Nobody has come aboard, Miss Folliot Fuchs.
Nobody?
Nobody.
But then,
Surely if your cabin is near that of Mrs. Moyston, you heard the shot?
I did not hear anything.
I see.
Where is Christina? I should have said the least she could do was to come and look after me. I might have had a serious heart attack with the shock. I might have been murdered. Where is Christina?
Isn't she in her cabin?
No.
Dr. Bessner, will you go to Mr. Severak's cabin and ask Mr. Severak to come here?
Certainly.
I suppose my niece has been murdered and her body flung overboard.
I think that there is probably a much less melodramatic explanation of her absence.
Nothing can excuse her heartless conduct in not coming to look after me.
I think it is possible that Christina does not yet know there has been a murder on board. Where do you sleep?
Pardon?
I'm asking you, exactly where is your cabin?
My cabin, monsieur, is next to that of Madame Moistin. Beyond, you comprehend?
Next door? And you did not hear the shot?
Oh, yes, monsieur, I heard the shot, but I wake up and I do not know what it is I hear. So I come along the deck and I find here monsieur has been shot through the leg. So naturally, monsieur, I think it is that shot I hear.
And you heard no one on the deck outside your cabin?
No, I hear nothing.
And you saw nothing?
What should I see, monsieur?
I am asking you.
I heard footsteps running past my cabin. Light, quick footsteps.
But you said just now that you heard nothing at all.
Well, I know, but
Auntie?
you, wicked, heartless girl, where have you been?
What's happened? What's happened now?
I'm sorry, Aunt Helen. I had to stay with Mr. Severak. She wasn't well, and I didn't like to leave her.
How long have you been with her?
I've not left her at all. Not since you and I got her to her cabin. I stayed with her, as you know, while you got Dr. Bessner. And then after he gave her the injection, she didn't seem to want to left alone. So I stayed there.
Is that true? My God, is that true?
I'm not in the habit of telling lies, Mr. Moyston. I don't know what you mean.
Don't be offended, Christina. You don't understand. This is frightfully important. When Kay went to bed, Jackie was here in the salon, wasn't she?
Yes.
And she never left until she went out with you. And since then, you've not left her. Not for a minute. Is that right?
That's right.
Thank God.
What's the matter? What are you talking about?
Kay has been shot.
Kay has been shot? You mean she's dead? I see. You thought I'd shot her, but I didn't. I didn't.
We know that you didn't.
I can't seem to take it in. My head. I'm so terribly sleepy. Simon, I didn't kill Kay.
It's all right, Jackie, dear. It's all right.
It's you I shot.
That doesn't matter. Listen, Jackie, keep awake a minute. Try to think. What did you do with the pistol after you shot me?
I dropped it. Over there.
Take her back and get her into bed. She is nearly unconscious now.
Come along, dear.
Now, Mr. Moyston, I insist that you let me give you a hypodermic. You are in pain, and you have now some fever. Mr. Smith and I will get you into my cabin, and I must then dress your knee properly.
No, I tell you, no. Don't you understand? My wife has been murdered. Murdered! We've got to find out who killed her. Somebody on this boat killed her. It's incredible, fantastic, but it's true. Somebody who overheard the scene between me and Jackie here tonight, and who thought that Kay's death would be fixed on poor, wretched little Jackie. That's right. Isn't it, sir? That's right.
Yes, a new and very serious problem has arisen. But you are in pain, Simon. You must have proper care and attention.
I don't want care and attention. I want to find out who killed Kay.
It is
McNaught
a
enters.
matter for the police.
That's right, sir. I've just sent a fast launch that was here to Wadi Halfa. The police will arrive and take charge tomorrow morning. In the meantime, stay put, and I would be obliged if you yourself would take charge until then, sir. Make any interrogations you think fit. I'd be out to my depth.
I think that seems a very sensible suggestion.
Very good, sir. Then I'll leave you for now. I'll interview the crew and the stewards right away and find out if they know anything or have seen anything. I don't know if any of you gentlemen speak Arabic. Right then, you'd best leave that part to me. See you later, gentlemen.
Oh, this is all very distressing, dear Canon.
As you say, very distressing.
Well, I think, as there is nothing I can do, I will go back to my cabin and try to sleep. Please send Christina to me. I cannot imagine why she seems to feel an obligation to look after someone who is, after all, a mere acquaintance.
Just a minute, Miss Foliot Flukes. Anything that anyone saw or heard this evening is of importance. You say you heard footsteps running along the deck. Have you any idea what time that was?
I really could not say.
In which direction were they going? Fore or aft?
I really couldn't tell you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Ah, what a draught there is. It is cold at nights in the desert.
Could that old woman have killed Kay? No, impossible. Why should she?
It would be as well, I think, for each one of us to state briefly exactly what he did this evening, after Mrs. Moyston left to go to her cabin.
I was in here. Bessner went to bed soon after you did. Smith after that.
Dr. Bessner?
I went straight to my cabin. I undressed. I was in my bunk when Mr. Smith came to rouse me and told me that Mr. Moyston had been shot through the leg and that Mr. Severac was in hysterics.
You did not leave your cabin?
No,
You did not go round to the port side of the deck?
certainly not.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Quite the examining magistrate, aren't you?
I have, unfortunately, not the powers of one.
Well, conceding you for the moment the divine right to ask questions, I left the salon about 5 minutes before Jackie started her shooting stunt. She was working up for it nicely with dollops of brandy and a bit of crooning. It got embarrassing, and I cleared out, by that door. I did not spring round the deck and shoot Kay Mostyn for the excellent reason that Jackie had tight hold of the pistol. I strolled along the deck and listened to the howling of the jackals and the singing of some Bedouin. I don't know which made the worst noise. Then I heard a commotion in here, and Christina giving a nice, sensible, controlled Scottish version of a scream, and I came hurrying in. After that, I have an alibi, being in the company of Christina, Jackie, and Dr. Bessner.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I have no divine right, but may I ask you the same question? Where were you, Canon Pennefather, after you left the salon?
I went to my cabin.
Just like Dr. Bessner?
Yes.
But you didn't go to bed.
No, I was reading. Where exactly did Jacqueline drop the pistol after shooting you?
In that doorway. There, just where you are now.
You were in a good deal of pain, Simon.
Yes.
Did you close your eyes or did you keep them open?
I felt a bit sick, faint. I leaned back and shut my eyes. It's rather idiotic, but the sight of blood makes me feel queer.
Quite so. Therefore, during those few minutes when you were alone, someone might have crept up to this door and picked up the pistol without you seeing or hearing them?
Oh, yes, easily.
Someone who may have been on the deck outside, who had overheard all that led up to the final outburst.
Monsieur.
Come here, Louise. Have you been telling us the truth, my girl?
Oh, monsieur, how can you doubt?
I do doubt. What do you know about this crime?
Nothing, monsieur, nothing at all. You accuse me, a respectable girl. Oh, Canon, I swear to you.
No more fables, Louise. You must tell me the truth.
Oh, Canon, please do not doubt me. The little Madame Moiston, she had such spirit, such beauty. Everyone in the world loved her. Who could have killed such a young and beautiful woman?
I insist. Stop your blithering. What did you see or hear tonight?
Oh, but what should I see? Naturally, if I had looked out in time, I should have seen this monster, this assassin, creep on board and kill Madame. I should then know who he was, but what can I say? What can I do?
My good girl, don't be a fool. Nobody thinks you saw or heard anything if you say you didn't. Nobody's accusing you of anything. You'll be all right. I'll look after you.
Monsieur is too kind.
Just tell us exactly what you did tonight. That's all Canon Pennefather wants to know.
Madame had told me I could go to bed. She would not want me as she might be sitting up late. So I went to my cabin about 10. I make myself my tea of camomile as usual, but somehow it tasted bitter, not good, the heat perhaps, so I threw it away. After that I went to bed, but I did not sleep. It's the little flies of the sand, they stung me. I put some flint about, and again I tried to sleep.
And after that?
After that, nothing. There is much noise. These Arabs, they do not seem to sleep. Ah! It is without a doubt one of them who crept on board and killed Madame. They have the hot blood. They hate perhaps these fair English women who are so arrogant.
Did you hate your mistress, Louise?
Monsieur, I was devoted to Madame.
I wonder.
Oh, Monsieur, you will protect me. The uncle of Madame, he is trying to say that I killed her.
Perhaps you did.
Ah! It is an outrage! Such infamy!
Calm down, Louise. Go off and go to bed. We'll talk to you in the morning.
Oh my! Very well, monsieur. Good night, monsieur. Good night. It was a joke, was it not, what you said? Some jokes are very funny. That one was not.
Some jokes are dangerous.
Yes, they are very dangerous.
What did I tell you? It is the shock. Help me. We must get him to my cabin.
Hi, boy. He'll help you. I want to speak to Canon Pennefather.
Well, Mr. Smith?
Hope he's all right. Wouldn't quite suit your books if he pegged out, would it?
What do you mean, young man?
I mean, whereas Mrs. Mostyn reads through all the documents before signing them, Simon Mostyn is a trusting fellow who'll be content to sign on the dotted line.
I don't think I understand you, Mr. Smith.
No? You think that because I play the fool, I can't be serious? I'm serious now. Murder doesn't amuse me.
I'm glad to hear it.
I've been wrong about you. I thought you were just the usual sort of canting society hypocrite, but you're something more. You're a fanatic. You believe in your New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem needs money. You've had plenty of money passing through your hands. Kay Ridgway's money.
Oh, really, Mr. Smith? This is childish.
Remember, I saw you at the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, reading a great wad of mail. I suggest that you knew all about Kay's marriage, and that your surprise at meeting her here was just an act.
You really are a most intelligent young man, Mr. Smith. You're quite right.
Oh, so you admit that?
I admit that.
Well, then.
Well then, Mr. Smith?
End of Act 2, Scene 2. Act 3. Same scene the following morning. Canon Pennefather is seated, and there is a bundle in front of him.
How's your patient this morning, Doctor?
I have done what can be done, but he should be got to hospital as soon as possible. I hope the police will soon arrive. I would like an X-ray. There is much inflammation and a rise of temperature. He asks questions and refuses any further sedatives.
That is perhaps natural. The shock of his wife's death must have been very great.
Dr. Bessner examines the bundle.
What have you here?
These were fished in a bundle out of the river by 2 of the boatmen. It had obviously been thrown from this boat and it's stuck in the mud.
A piece of velvet, and a velvet scarf, and a handkerchief, a bottle, and a pistol. Is it the right pistol?
It is the pistol with which Jacqueline shot Simon Moyston last night. It has the initials J.S.
And it is also the pistol with which Mrs. Moyston was shot.
You are sure of that?
No, one cannot be sure. That is a police matter. It is for the experts in ballistics, I think you call it. Only they can say for certain if a bullet has been fired from a particular weapon. It is the right caliber.
He opens the pistol.
And 2 shots I see have been fired.
Yes, there seems very little doubt about it.
But perhaps I should not be handling it.
Oh, there can be no fingerprints. It is soaked in river mud.
Dr. Bessner puts down the pistol and picks up the scarf.
This is interesting. See the bullet holes. This was wrapped around the pistol, and the pistol fired through the material. That, I suppose, in order to deaden the noise of the report.
Why, that's Aunt Helen's scarf. The one she couldn't find last night. She's been so annoyed with me about it. Says I ought to have looked after it.
But it is not your fault. Always, I have observed, most conscientious you are.
Doctor, Mostyn wants you. He's all heated up, insists on being got up and brought here.
That I have expressly forbidden. Already he has fever. He must remain quiet. These healthy young men. They are the most difficult patients when they are ill. I must be stern, very stern.
That doctor seems to have fallen for you, Christina. Take my advice and have nothing to do with him. He's a lecher.
Dr. Bessner is a very clever man. He knows a lot. He's a psychologist.
I've never heard it called that before.
I don't know what you mean. Anyway, he's a very learned man, and he's kind.
What a girl. She likes everyone. Christina Grant, you're the only really nice woman I've ever come across. Will you marry me?
Don't be foolish.
That's not the way to reply to a genuine offer of marriage. Made before a witness, too. I've deliberately offered you marriage against all my principles, because I don't believe you'd stand for anything else. So marriage it shall be. Come on, Christina. Say yes.
You ought to be ashamed of your foolishness. The trouble with you is that you're not serious.
Not serious about my offer? I certainly am.
I meant you should be ashamed of your character. You laugh at things you shouldn't laugh at. I doubt very much whether you'd make a reliable husband.
But Christina, you'd easily be reliable enough for 2.
That's enough.
Oh, so there you are, Christina. As usual, when I want you.
Good morning, Miss Fouliot-Flukes. I think this is the scarf you were looking for last night?
The one Christina mislaid so carelessly. Just look at the state it's in. Ugh, disgraceful. It's all wet and covered with mud. What has someone been doing with it?
Someone has used it. For murder.
Ugh, my scarf? What impertinence.
Quite. When is the last time you remember having it?
I had it in the salon before I went into dinner last night. Christina should not have let me leave it behind.
This is not your handkerchief, Miss Foliot Flukes?
No, indeed. It's a man's, and a nasty cotton thing.
It's just an ordinary Woolsworth handkerchief, stained pink. No mark on it. Not even a laundry mark.
Well, I suppose I can take my property, even though it has been completely ruined. I shall sue the company.
These things will first have to be shown to the police.
The police?
A police launch is on its way. It may arrive at any minute.
Oh, I see.
I've been hoping to get you alone, Miss Foliot Fuchs.
Indeed, Mr. Smith. I can't imagine for what reason.
Just this. I want to marry your niece.
You must be out of your senses, young man.
Not at all. I'm determined to marry her. I've asked her to marry me.
Indeed. And I presume she sent you about your business?
She refused me.
Naturally.
Not naturally at all. I'm going to go on asking till she agrees.
I can assure you, Mr. Smith, that I shall take steps to see that my niece is not subject to any such persecution.
Come now, what have you got against me?
I should think that was quite obvious, Mr. Smith. Smith is one of the name of the Hammersmiths.
You mean that I'm not good enough for her?
I should have thought that would have been quite obvious to you.
In what way am I not good enough? Come now, I've got 2 legs, 2 arms, good health, and quite reasonable brains. What's wrong with that?
Oh, Mr. Smith, there is such a thing as social position.
Social position is bunk. Come along, Christina. I'm asking for your hand in marriage in the best conventional manner.
Christina, have you encouraged this young man?
I know. Of course not. At least, not exactly, I mean.
What do you mean?
She hasn't encouraged me. I've done it all. She hasn't actually pushed me in the face because she's got too kind a heart. Christina, your aunt says that I'm not good enough for you. That, of course, is true, but not in the way that she means it. My moral nature certainly doesn't equal yours, but her point is that I'm hopelessly below you socially.
And that, I think, is equally obvious to Christina.
Is it? Is that why you won't marry me?
No, it isn't. If I liked you, I'd marry you, no matter what you were.
But you don't like me.
I think you're just outrageous. The way you say things, the things you say. I've never met anyone the least like you.
On the whole, that's not too bad a start. I'll be calling you Auntie yet.
Canon Pennefather, will you make this young man leave the room at once? If you don't leave here at once, sir, I will ring for the steward and get you put out.
I've paid for my ticket. You can't possibly turn me out of the public salon. But I'll humor you, Auntie.
Oh, dear, I feel most upset. That dreadful, insolent young man.
Rather eccentric, perhaps. Most of that family are. Always inclined to tilt at windmills. That's why he won't use his title, of course.
His title?
Oh, yes. Didn't you recognize him? He's young Lord Dawlish. As I say, all the Hargrave Smiths are eccentric. He drops his title and calls himself Plain Smith. I believe he's a member of the Communist Party. But actually rolling in money, of course.
Really? Really? Most interesting. I am much obliged to you for telling me this, dear Canon Pennefather. I think perhaps I had better have a word with my dearest Christina.
Ah, Simon. Feeling better this morning?
Oh, I'm all right.
Ah, madness! I tell you, madness! Do you wish to kill yourself, Mr. Moyston? I tell you, all this excitement, all this movement, it is most injurious. Let me at least give you an injection.
Don't you see that I can't stay quietly in your cabin being treated like an invalid? Don't you realize that my wife was shot last night? What the hell does it matter what happens to me? Not that anything will. I'm as strong as a horse. But I've got to be in the center of things to know what is going on. I've got to find out.
Ah, you see?
He approaches
Take that
him with a
dope away.
hypodermic needle.
A drop of brandy is what I want.
Ah, brandy will be very injurious to your wound.
Boy, double brandy, now.
Ah, you are impossible. I've washed my hands.
I'm sorry, but I can't stand being treated as a patient to be humored and doctored and shut away from things. I want to know what's happening. Jackie didn't kill Kay, so who did? Are we any nearer to an answer?
Yes, I think we are.
Have you seen Jackie this morning?
No, she's in her cabin.
I must see her. I simply must see her. Smith, ask her to come here, will you? There's a good chap.
These things were fished out of the river in a bundle this morning. A scarf, a handkerchief, a bottle-labeled nail polish, and this.
Jackie's pistol?
Yes, with 2 shots fired.
So someone did creep along to that door last night and pick it up. Someone who meant Jackie to take the rap. That's what makes my blood boil. Framing poor little Jackie. Jackie, who wouldn't hurt a fly.
My dear Simon.
Oh, that's different. I more or less asked for that.
Who do you think shot Kay? Louise?
Somehow, I don't think it was Louise.
Her manner last night was odd, to say the least of it.
Yes, she knows something, I grant you that. And I also believe I can get out of her what she knows.
Dear! Oh, Simon! Simon, can you ever forgive me? I must have been mad. Quite mad.
Not mad, just a bit tight, that's all.
I might have killed you.
Not with a rotten little pea shooter like that.
And your leg. Perhaps you'll never walk again.
Now look here, Jackie. Don't be so gloomy. As soon as we get to Aswan, they're going to put the x-rays to work and see just what the damage is and fix me up in no time. So don't get all worked up. I thought you might be worrying a bit.
Worrying a bit? Simon!
That's all right. You've always been a bit hot-tempered.
I'm a devil, that's what I am. A devil. But I didn't kill Kay. You do know that, don't you?
Everybody knows that, thank goodness. Listen, Jackie, I think we've got a chance at getting at the truth through Louise.
Through Louise?
Yes. The canon and I both thought her manner peculiar last night. We think she knows something.
What could she know?
There's a chance, I suppose, that she looked out of her cabin last night and saw something. Something or someone.
But then, why doesn't she say so?
Because in my opinion, she's out for blackmail. Do you agree, sir?
I think there's every indication of it.
Now, in my opinion, there's only one way to make her speak. Bribery. Bribery in a big way.
Isn't that... I don't quite understand.
If Louise tells what she knows, that will send someone to the scaffold. Consequently, she hopes to get large sums out of that person, you see?
Yes. Horrible creature.
I've always thought she was a dangerous piece of goods, but that's not the point. My idea is to bid higher than the other person. I'll get her in here, tackle her, and offer her something so substantial that she'll be willing to open her mouth as wide as we like. That's our chance. We mustn't miss it.
Must it be like that? I don't like
It's got
it.
to be settled quickly. It's got to be done now.
How do you know that she will tell you the truth?
She'll tell the truth if we make it worth her while.
Tell me, was Kay really shot with my pistol? Do you know that for certain?
The bullet was of the same caliber. We can only know for sure after the police have examined it.
Somebody else on board might have had a pistol.
Bessner has a revolver, but of course that's a .35.
I don't like this idea of yours, Simon.
I'm sorry you don't agree, sir, but I'm going to try it all the same.
I won't have any part in it.
Don't go away. At least stand by and hear how it goes.
No, I won't cooperate in any way.
Well, send Bessner here. There ought to be a witness. Otherwise, she may deny the whole thing afterwards, no matter what she has said. And tell Louise I want to see her.
Very well. Oh, here's Smith. He'll do it. Smith!
What's the big idea?
Bribery and corruption.
Oh, that's it, is it?
The canon objects. On principle. I hope you don't.
I've no principles.
Good. Now hide yourself over there and just listen to all that goes on.
I shall become a part of the background.
Monsieur wish to see me?
Yes, I do. Sit down, Louise. No, there. Have a cigarette?
Oh no, monsieur.
Come on.
Monsieur is very kind.
I've always thought you were a smart girl, Louise.
Thank you, monsieur.
And that's why I want your help over this very sad business.
It is indeed very sad. Madame was so young, so beautiful, so rich.
We've got to find out who did it, Louise. That's very important.
Of course, monsieur.
So you will help, won't you?
Monsieur wishes my help to find out who killed Madame?
Yes. You're a very clever girl, Louise.
You said so before, monsieur.
Because it's true. You're not very rich, are you, Louise? Would you like to be rich?
What a question, monsieur. Naturally, the answer is yes, but it is not likely.
I think it's quite likely.
I do not understand in the least what monsieur means.
I'm offering you money, Louise, for the truth.
For the truth.
I think we understand each other.
I do not understand at all.
Quite the wide-eyed innocent, aren't you, my girl? Now then, let's come down to brass tacks. If you had looked out your cabin at a certain moment last night, aroused, perhaps by a shot, not the shot that wounded me, but the shot that killed my wife, you might have seen... Now, what might you have seen?
You tell me, monsieur.
I am suggesting that you should tell.
Tell what I saw. That is, if I saw anything at all?
Exactly. You might have seen, perhaps, a person,
I might have. I do not say that I did.
but I say you did. You're keeping that knowledge to yourself, to sell it to someone who will buy it. Sell it to me, Louise.
I do not understand you, monsieur.
A pistol shows through the deck window.
Sell it to me. How much do you want? 1,000 pounds? 2,000? Ah!
My God!
Damn, this leg! Is she hurt badly?
She's bleeding very badly. Doctor! Dr. Bessner!
Was ist das?
Simon! Simon, are you all right? I thought you'd been shot.
What has happened?
She was shot through that window.
She is not quite dead, but she is dying.
Will she speak?
Impossible. If you will help me, we will take her into my cabin and see what can be done. But I do not think anything will be any good.
Oh, all this is most disturbing. Christina, give me my knitting.
Disturbing? 2 deaths. Disturbing.
Quiet, Jackie. Don't let go.
It's all so horrible.
I know. It's over now.
Simon, you're ill. You look very bad.
All this excitement isn't the best for one. It's all right, Jackie. Only a bit of fever.
And your hands are burning. Are you in pain?
It's my head going round. Light-headed. I mustn't be light-headed. Not now when it's all over. I've got to... What have I got to do?
You've got to find out who killed Kay.
That's right. Hang on to that. Kay. Who's Kay? Of course. She's your best friend, isn't she, Jackie?
How is she?
Dead.
Oh, I should never have come on this cruise. I came for rest and a change of air. Come, Christina.
Doctor, Simon, he's ill. Feverish.
Naturally, he is ill. 'Tis most dangerous what he insists on doing. He should have remained quietly in my cabin. Now, yes, now he has fever. Come, all this has been suicidal madness.
Suicidal? He's not going to die.
Of course not, young lady. I am vexed, that is all. Boy, hey, now I will, young man, and I permit any more madness.
Can I come with him?
No, he needs quiet.
But please!
He is my patient, and I cannot have him excited. I shall give him an injection.
He's always wanting to give someone an injection. I shall suggest he gives one, lethal, to my aunt-to-be.
I think you will find, Mr. Smith, that Miss Fulliard Flukes has undergone a change of heart.
What do you mean?
She knows that you wear your Smith with a hyphen.
Who told her that?
I did.
Damned cheek!
Christina looks in, sees Smith, and retreats.
Hi, Christina.
He hurries off. The canon stares at the chair where Jackie shot Simon the night before. He looks at the floor and discovers a bullet in the floor. He digs it out.
Simon's so ill. What's that you're holding?
A bullet.
Where did you find it?
Embedded in the floor there.
Is it important?
It means that I know now how Kay was killed.
I don't understand.
This scarf has been wrapped around a pistol, and the pistol fired through it. This is evident by the scorching in the bullet holes. It was suggested that this was done in order to muffle the sound of the shot that killed Kay. But Dr. Bessner stated quite clearly last night that the bullet hole in Kay's temple showed scorching, thereby proving that the pistol was held close against her head. So the shot that killed Kay cannot have been the shot that this velvet scarf had been cut with. You see that?
Yes, I see that.
2 shots we know to have been fired. The one that killed Kay and the one that you fired as Simon Moyston. But you certainly had not got this scarf wrapped around the pistol.
Of course not.
Therefore, you see, there must have been a 3rd shot.
I see what you mean, but...
Now, when we examine the pistol, it appears that 2 shots have been discharged. But it is quite possible that 3 shots were actually discharged, and 1 cartridge afterwards replaced, to make it look as though only 2 shots had been fired. If so, when was the 3rd shot fired, and what was the object of it?
I can't even begin to imagine.
When you were in here last night, was the window open or shut?
I don't remember.
When I went to bed, it was shut. When I came in here later, it was open. Who opened it?
What on earth has that got to do with it?
A good deal. You see, when I had logically demonstrated to myself that a 3rd shot had been fired, I looked for a 3rd bullet and found it. Now, consider the French girl Louise. Before the 4 of us here last night, Simon, Bessner, Smith, and myself, Louise went out of her way to make it quite clear that she knew something. She even hinted unmistakably that she had seen the murderer. Why?
Blackmail?
Blackmail, most certainly. But why at that moment? Why a public statement before 4 people? Why not go to the person concerned privately and say to him or her, I know. How much will you pay for silence?
I can't imagine. It certainly would have been the more sensible way.
Then why not adopt it? And the answer, the only possible answer, is that for some reason that was impossible. Now do you see how near the truth we are getting?
I suppose I'm stupid, but I don't.
Louise made her veiled threat in front of 4 people. That could only mean that the threat was actually made to one of those people.
Oh, I see.
Louise could have come to me alone. She could have gone to Smith alone. She could have gone to Bessner alone. There was only one person she could not be sure of finding alone. A wounded man with someone constantly in attendance on him. Simon Moyston.
Simon? Simon! But you're insane!
That good-looking, plausible young scoundrel and waster Simon Moyston. Simon Moyston, of whom I had already heard something. So that when I got Kay's letter in Jerusalem, telling me she had married him, I hurried here to see for myself, and to protect, if I could, the child of my old friend left in my guardianship. I failed to protect her, and that failure lies heavily on me.
But what you're saying is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Simon never left the salon when Kay went to bed last night. He was here until I shot him. And after that, he couldn't have walked a step. Dr. Bessner says so.
Yes, the sequence seems complete, but it isn't. You fired your pistol, but the bullet went into the floor and not into Simon's knee at all. Simon fell back in his chair and put a handkerchief soaked in some kind of red dye to his knee. And Simon Moyston had time, while Christina and you and Smith were on the other side of the deck, to pick up the pistol from where you had dropped it, run to his wife's cabin, where his wife was lying asleep, drugged no doubt. Simon shot Kay, ran back here, opened that window, inserted a fresh cartridge, wrapped the pistol in the scarf, that was to avoid scorching, and fired another bullet into his leg. Then he threw scarf, handkerchief, bottle, and pistol in a bundle through that window, and still had time to place his own handkerchief to his knee, and was found by Smith and Bessner in exactly the same position as Smith had left him 4 minutes earlier.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic, but it's true. Simon had one piece of bad luck. Louise didn't drink her invariable chamomile tea, which had, no doubt, been suitably doctored. Louise was awake. She heard the shot next door. She looked out and saw him. She followed him along here and probably saw him shoot himself. And then, of course, she set out to blackmail him. He reassured her in front of us. We never saw it. You'll be all right, Louise. I'll look after you. But in blackmailing him, she signed her own death warrant.
Nonsense. Simon didn't shoot Louise.
No, he had to rely on the quick wit and understanding of someone else. Of his partner. You shot Louise, Jacqueline.
It's a lie.
He told you here in this room that Louise knew the murderer. He told you Bessner had a revolver. You went and got that revolver and shot her.
It's a lie.
The cannon seizes her hand.
Have you ever heard of the Millage test?
Millage tests?
If a person has recently discharged a pistol, minute powder grains are embedded in the skin of the hand. They can be extracted with a millage of wax.
Jackie grabs the pistol from the table. He catches both her hands and the pistol falls to the floor. He throws her in the chair, then stoops and picks up the pistol.
Yes. Yes, I would have killed you. I didn't think it mattered so very much killing Kay. Kay, who tried to rob me of Simon. And Louise was just a blackmailing harpy. But you've been kind to me. I like you. And now I see why one must not do murder. It means you aren't safe anymore. Once you've learned how to kill, you'll do it again, and again, and again. That's true, isn't it?
That is true.
I didn't want to kill you. You've been kind to me. You've tried to help me. The first night, I nearly did what you asked. I nearly got off the boat, gave up the whole thing.
Would to God you had.
May I tell you how it happened?
Yes, my child. Tell me.
It was all true what I told you. Simon was looking for a job. I induced Kay to give him one. And then, when she saw him, she fell for him. Poor Simon, he's always wanted money. And he's always been so miserably poor. And here it was being offered to him for the asking. I saw what he felt. I told him he'd better give me up and marry Kay. But he said being the husband of a rich wife was no good to him. And he loved me. He said if this was a book, I'd marry a rich wife and she'd die within the year. And then I saw the idea come into his head. I tried to talk him out of it, but he just laughed and he said, "You leave it to me." But I was terrified. Simon's so simple, so terribly optimistic. I knew he'd go about it in some perfectly idiotic way, so I had to help him. You do see that? I had to help him. This plan was mine. I thought it was so clever, so absolutely foolproof. He worked it out. Me following them around, his pretense of hating me. It all worked down to the last detail. And then you trapped me. I'd never even heard of the Melange test.
Your guilty conscience trapped you. The Melange test would have meant nothing in your case, because you fired that pistol last night. But it will be conclusive in Simon's case, because, according to his story, you never handled a pistol last night.
This is going to hang on him? Oh, Simon. Simon.
When the sun shines, you cannot see the moon, but the moon is there all the time. Both of you said that to me in almost the same words. I ought to have known that you were acting together.
I wish Kay was alive. You may not believe it, but it's true. I loved Kay. I know that now. She was so gay and happy, so generous and warm-hearted. If one could only go back.
You have to go on, not go back.
There's a quick way and an easy way.
You mustn't take that way.
You can't stop me.
To take your own life is as bad as to take that of someone else.
Even if it's already forfeit?
Your life is not your own to dispose of. It is only your own to live until the appointed end.
You're cruel.
No, I'm still trying to help you. There are spiritual values of which you know nothing. These next few weeks may be all important to you.
To my soul?
To your soul.
Lotus ahoy! Egyptian police here.
Won't you give me back my pistol?
The canon slowly hands her the pistol.
Aren't you going to stop me?
No. The choice must be yours.
I see. The choice must be mine.
She places the pistol back on the table.
All right. You win.
The end. Lights down. Thank you for attending this evening's performance of Murder on the Nile by Agatha Christie. Let's give a round of applause for the Trinity players. Kirsten Pruce as Miss Foylet Fuchs and Beatseller. Rachel Davis as Miss Christina Grant. Christian Bockhart as Smith. Margaret Wang as Louise and Beatseller. Jacob Heinzelman as Dr. Bessner and McNaught. Claire Huntsberger as Kay Moyston. Dan Matamore as Simon Moyston. Ben Bajakis as Kenan Pennefather. Lucia Scroy as Jacqueline de Severac. And a special thanks to our recording engineer, Mr. Richard Allen. And from myself and all the members of the senior drama class of 2020, we thank you again for attending this evening's performance of Murder on the Nile by Agatha Christie.